If you think about what AI is good at, it's good at several different things. It's good at analyzing data. It's good at summarizing data. It's good at making predictions based on data. It's good at writing content. It's good at repetitive stuff. So if you need to do it again and again and again, it's good at doing things that require some human input.
So, what do you need to know to thrive as a business owner in an AI powered world? That's what we're going to be exploring today with our guest, Isar Meitis. He's a 4-time CEO with a real passion for teaching and mentoring. He's played the game of business from many different angles as a CEO, investor, and board member. Recently, he's doubled down on making AI a core focus, and his current business, MultiplAI, helps businesses really make the switch to this AI first approach. So I know we're going to get on like a house on fire just because he's an ex F-16 pilot, which means he's going to be a lover of systems and processes. I know all pilots love a good process. So welcome, Isar, to the call.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. That's going to be fun.
Maybe to start, yeah, I'd love to see if my intuition was correct, if you see yourself as a systems person.
Yes, very much so. I think the cool thing about fighter pilots, it's a mix between love of systems and processes with a lot of agility. So it's kind of like a weird combination. But yeah, I love good systems and processes.
When you think about agility, because I know there's a common misconception around systems that they add in rigidity, is that kind of what you're kind of saying? Like you'll have a process approach, but when you adjust as needed.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I think having a good process is very important. I think it's a good baseline, especially if you want to scale, like not having a process just not allow you to scale. But I think you got to be flexible enough that when things happen, you need to be able to respond in real time and make good decisions outside of the process because whatever situation calls for that.
Yeah. How do you see then systems and processes fitting into the AI space then? Like, and you look through the systems lens also. So I'd be very interested in your take because you're deep in the AI. How do you kind of see the two work together?
Well, there's several different sides to that story, but to begin with, in order to even start using AI effectively, you need to really understand your own processes and systems because that's
Yeah.
what you're trying to automate or replace or augment with AI, and you can't do it without actually understanding what's going on. So if you have, and I always joke about this, like every single company in the world, by the way, large, small, medium, have these processes that Jane knows how to do or Jim knows how to do. And God forbid if Jane or Jim gets hit by a bus, then you're fucked because nobody.
Yeah.
And sometimes these are processes that are on the hardcore mainstream of the business. It's not like a side thing that, yeah, whatever, we'll figure it out. Like it's on the critical path. And the reason companies do not go and map all these processes, or previously they didn't, because it's just a pain to go and map all these processes. And it's just a really long, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to document this? And the reality is AI can help with that as well. But you knowing what's currently happening is a baseline you have to do and you have to know in order to go the next step and start replacing and augmenting it with AI. So the two work together very, very closely. And if you think about any aspect of the business, whether it's HR, marketing, or finance, or accounting, or sales, or whatever, like if you want AI to take over, you need to give the AI instructions. The
Yeah.
instructions has to be tied to something. And
Yeah.
so you need to know what that something is.
Yes. Do you think if we continue on that train of thought that um, process will always have a place in business and always a level of importance? Because I tend to agree, like at the core of it, the process becomes the programming for the machines, and it's the programming for anything. It's how you do what you do. I'm wondering if you see a future where that's not the case.
No, I think what we'll see is that adaptation will just become faster.
Yeah.
So if you think about, let's go to the very far extreme. Let's say 95% of your organization is AI and 5% is people. These systems can adjust very, very fast. They can understand that one thing is not working and switch to something else on a split of a second. Versus an organization of people, well, we're people. We love sticking to what we know and what we're comfortable with, and we're very hard to move. And especially when it's a bigger organization and there's dependencies and so on, it's very hard to change all the dependencies. If it's a piece of software, then it can change itself. Then in the next split of a second, all the different dependencies can change with it, and it can be something else. So I think there's always going to be a process. I think the ability to change the processes as needed is just going to be significantly more possible than it is today, especially in larger organizations.
Yeah. Was there a moment when you realized that AI was about to fundamentally change business? And like, I don't know if you had an aha moment or something, because obviously you've just said, I'm going to double down on this. And I'm wondering what prompted that.
First of all, I have these aha moments every single day.
Yeah.
So, like, despite the fact that I've been doing this daily, full time for the last 2.5 years, I think very, very early. So I lucked out. I sold my half of a business to my business partner at the time in October of 2022.
Yeah.
And I was thinking what I want to do when I grow up. And then ChatGPT came out.
Yeah.
And I had time. And so I just started playing. And very, very early on, like within a week or two, I'm like, oh my God, this is insane because it
Yeah.
was very clear to me that this is very different than anything else I've seen before. And I ran large organizations. I built businesses myself. I was a CEO of several different companies, and it felt very different than everything I've seen before because it could do stuff that I haven't seen any computer do before. So it
Mm.
was, the obviously the insights that I have right now are significantly more advanced and evolved in those 2.5 years, but it was very obvious very early that this is different.
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of people had that chat GPT moment where they went, oh, wow, I can use it to rewrite an email. And they've got some very level sort of base case uses of it. And as sort of time's gone on, there are certain people that have just doubled down and realized, hey, there's so much more here. And then there's
Yeah.
others that are just thinking, oh, yes, this is great for rewriting email. Like you, I think it's very obvious to me the direction that this is going and that everybody will kind of get on board. You had the benefit of having some time to double down and focus on it. And I know you work with a lot of business owners to try and help them to adopt AI. Where do you see people going wrong? Or, yeah, I don't know if you have any suggestions on where and how to get started.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing people are going wrong with is just not going.
Yeah.
So there's several different reasons people don't move forward, right? One reason is just fear. Like I don't know what's going to happen. I don't exactly know what to do. There's too much uncertainty. Another one is really lack of knowledge. Like where do I start? Like I understand this is going to be big. There's all the people who still think that this is a passing trend, just like, Web3 or the metaverse. Like everybody invested in the metaverse and we're going crazy and billions of dollars or hundreds of billions of dollars. And Meta changed their name from Facebook to Meta just because the metaverse is going to change everything. And yet, okay, have you been to the metaverse? Do you know any other people who's so a lot of people think AI is another kind of like FUD that's going to go away. So there's very a lot of reasons why people don't start. The reality is it's it will dramatically shift everything we know, and it's good enough right now to do incredible impact on any business and in most aspects of the business. And the question you asked, which is the most important question, is how to get started. And how to get started is education. Like you have to educate yourself, especially if you're a decision maker in a company, if you're in a leadership position. You have to educate yourself to the point that you understand enough that you can start taking action that's going to be valuable versus counterproductive. And to do that, you just got to know enough. And
Mm.
you can do it yourself by reading books, following people, listening to podcasts, following people on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever it is that you follow people. Or you can take the next step and accelerate it by taking courses and things like that that are more structured and condensed and will give you more valuable information that you need. But that's a critical starting point. And then the
Mm.
next starting point is hands-on. Like once you start learning stuff, you have to start and experiment yourself, because whatever the courses and the people you follow are going to show you, you have your own use cases, you have your own data, you have your own knowledge, you have your own niche, you have your own people, you have your own company culture. Like there's so many things that are going to impact the way you need to apply AI, that you have to get your hands dirty and actually experiment yourself. But it's very hard to take it to its full capability without actually getting help from the outside, because you just don't know what you don't know.
Yes, yeah. When someone first starts and thinks about it through the lens of their business and what are the use cases that are going on, are there any particular areas that you think are underrated or overlooked, particularly when thinking about small business? I mean, there's a lot of different places. I think every different role, every different industry is all getting impacted by AI. But I suppose specifically for the small business owner, are there areas when you chat with people where they have a blind spot to where AI might help?
How long do we have? Like 6, 7 hours? Like how are we gonna
Yes,
go for until it's
yes.
morning for me as well? uh, so I'll say a few things. First of all, like you said, I think most people jump into these tools first of all to create content,
Mm.
which is cool and fun and easy and it's fantastic. Like I have nothing against it. The reality was, when you think about value to a business, content in somewhere in the very last position of the conversation, what provides value to a business. The first thing that provides value to a business is good strategy, right?
Yeah.
You can brainstorm with AI on every aspect of your business to come up with better strategy. And that is, especially if you're in leadership position in a small business, that's something you in many cases don't have. Like really small businesses usually don't have a board of directors. They don't necessarily have advisory board. If you're not a member in some kind of a CEO group or some kind of a brain, then you really don't have in many cases who to brainstorm with. And so suddenly you have a, call it whatever you want to call it, an entity that you can brainstorm with. And if you give it relevant information, it can give you awesome and amazing feedback to help you shape better strategy for your business and give feedback to your decision and allow you to see different angles that you may have not thought of. So that would be number one thing that I know a lot of people don't do. You can go deeper than that and say, okay, you know what? I want different personas when I do
Mm.
this evaluation. I want somebody to play devil's advocate. I want somebody who'll be on my side of the ring. I want somebody who'll be an outside thinker. I want Jim Collins because I really trust them, or the people who wrote Traction, like EOS.
Do you know
Uh,
Wickman? Yeah.
yeah. And so I want them to consult me. Anybody who has written a lot and published a lot, you can consult with, because these tools consumed everything they've written and they can act as them. These are things that most people don't even think about. Like you
Mm.
can actually get advice based on the best practices of any published author or any specific methodology you want to follow. So all these kind of things are all around strategy, which is a huge benefit. I literally consult with some of these tools almost on daily basis across things and decisions I need to make in my business. So this is one. Two, that is huge, is data-driven decisions. Most small businesses lack time, capabilities, data, and a lot of other stuff to make data driven decisions. And so what happens is you make suboptimal decisions because of all the reasons you just said, right? You just don't know how to do that, or you don't have the tools and so on. And AI solves that problem in ways that were literally not possible before, unless you had like business development people that's their job, who know how to write code and connect to systems and build databases, stuff that most business owners do not know how to do. And so you can take data, and I'll make that even more extreme. historically, if you had a team like this, you could still analyze quantitative data. You could not analyze qualitative data, right? So if you have customer reviews, if you're recording your calls, whether it's customer service, whether it's clients, whether it's prospects, all of these things are qualitative pieces of data that are gold, and we had no way to analyze them. And now anyone, literally a solopreneur, can now analyze every call that they have with any person, whether it's a prospect or a client or whatever, in a very high level of detail and high level of certainty on what was good, what was bad, what needs to change, what are the insights, what are the next steps, things like this. So being able to analyze data and make better business decisions based on that data is an incredible benefit of AI that most people do not do with it. So this is just the two probably from the most value to a business. These are probably the two things that are the most value to a business that most people do not do with it.
Yeah, I love those. I think the first one as well, I can just imagine the whole consulting world getting turned on its head when you have a high level consultant sitting in your pocket 24/7 that you can tap
Yep.
into. And I mean, it has been said for uh, years that data is the new oil. And it's really only made sense for large companies that have been able to mine it. Whereas now, with these tools, I agree, I feel like we are opening up a new realm of possibilities of tapping into data that exists inside their business, which can help them to make decisions. You mentioned a few different tools or some ideas on how this can be used in your business. I'm wondering of the tools and either the tech stack, are there any particular tools that you're using more than others or any that are a real standout for you?
It changes a lot depending on the use case. I'm a believer that if one tool does it better than the other, I should use that tool versus the other.
Yeah,
And I also believe that I will pay as many times $20 a month to get all the tools that help me do the things better, faster, cheaper, because my time is valuable, right? So if I can save an hour a month, and to do that, I need to pay for a tool $20 just to do one thing a month, but it's going
yeah,
to save me an hour, it's a no brainer. Uh, when you have a company with 200 employees, that's a different story. When you have 20,000 employees, that's a different story because now it's 20,000 times 20 times 20.
yes,
And so it adds up very, very quickly. I still think that if you run a company with X number of employees, let's call it in the triple digits or more, so either hundreds or thousands of employees, there needs to be a process where people can justify why they need specific tools. But I think if they
yeah.
can justify in a clear way, why is that saving them time, making them money, making the company money, making them more efficient, whatever the case may be, and they can prove that over time with usage and benefits, they should get access to any tool that makes sense from an IT security perspective. Uh, Me personally, now I'll now reverse or no reverse. I will contradict a little bit what I said before. If you have to pick one tool, right now ChatGPT, from a how broad the capabilities are and the quality of all of them, is probably the best choice. But there are many use cases in which I don't use ChatGPT. And then
Yeah.
I use Grok and I use Claude and I use Gemini and I use dedicated specific tools and I use image generators and I use video generator and I use aggregators and I use, so there's a lot of other tools that I pay for that I use regularly. But if you say, okay, you have to give up on all of them other than one, I will probably pick ChatGPT because even though there are things it doesn't do as good as the other tools, it has more capabilities than most of them, and it's at
Mm.
least okay, if not awesome, on all of them. And so if I had to pick one, I would pick one, but the reality is I don't. So so I use a lot of them for different reasons.
Oh, hey, I know you're tuned in right now, so I'll keep this super quick, but you like awesome YouTube videos, don't you? Well, there's not really that many YouTube channels that create great content about how to systemize your small business, so I want to make sure that you catch every video that I publish. So if you haven't already, firstly, give this video the thumbs up, and then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You can even hit the bell notification to make sure that you're the first to know when I publish anything. So go ahead, do it right now. I'll wait a sec, and then I'll transfer you back to the video.
Yes, yeah. You mentioned with different cases. I don't know if we think maybe specifically for some of the businesses that you work with, are there any standout use cases or case studies where you're just like, I was working with this particular client, they had this particular process, and by re-engineering, introducing AI, we were able to get X results, save X amount of hours or make X amount. Like, I'd love to hear kind of, some tangible examples.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I do this with multiple companies every single day, so we can spend the next week speaking on tangible case studies. But I'll try to maybe aggregate them into buckets. I think that's going to help people more than the specific use case, and stuff that I see a lot that is magical to people when they see it the first time. So every company, mostly above a certain size, so not a company or one or two, but a company of 20 to 3,000, gets data from multiple sources in multiple formats in multiple times, and they need to somehow aggregate it in order to make sense in what's happening. So let's take companies who sell stuff, okay, actual widgets and products. You have inventory, right? And you have distributors and you have distribution channels. So each and every one of those is a data point that you need to track regularly because that's literally what you do, right? You need to know how much inventory is in different warehouses. You need to know how much you ordered. You need to know how much is coming in. You need how much is in shipping right now. You need to know how much this distributor sold versus that one versus that one. This data comes in multiple shapes and sizes. Some people send you a PDF file with the status of the shipment. Some people send you a CSV file, but it's in the format that comes out of their ERP system, which is different than the format of the other company that sends you the data from their ERP system that is different from the company that chooses Excel and they have a third format. But you have to aggregate that data somehow. And so companies have people doing that work, copying and pasting data from multiple sources, converting it into one Excel file or CSV file that they can upload that to their ERP, CRM, whatever the case may be. And that data entry process is A, time consuming, B, not always accurate because people make mistakes when they copy and paste data, and C, takes time, which means you don't really know in real time what's happening or even close to real time, but once a week you get a touch point like, okay, this is where we are this week, this is what happened, let's make decisions for next week. The reality is, relatively easily, you can have AI take every one of these inputs and in near real time convert it to the format you need it in accurately and do whatever process and analysis you need to do. So you reduce that overhead because now you don't have people just literally copying and pasting data. You get less mistakes and you get to make decisions that are faster than waiting to the end of the week every time for the process to finish. So this is just one example. Now, I literally have companies who do this an hour to an hour and a half a day, every day. In some cases, not just weekdays, because the process runs 365 days, 24/7. So they do this on weekends as well. They have a team who does that on weekends to aggregate the data from all the different sources. That's obviously a bigger company. But this is one magical use case where it's just data analysis and data conversion that used to be done manually that now doesn't need to be done manually at all. So this is one example. Another example that is mind blowing is leads identification, lead mining, and lead nurturing. So these are things that happen in every single company, right? Because without leads, there's no sales. Without sales, you don't have a business. Like you can be a nonprofit, but if you want to make money, you need customers. To have customers, you need leads. It's not easy to get leads. Well, at least it wasn't. But now you can use literally any data source on the internet or your website or other places to find leads. You can dissect them to find just your ICP, just your ideal client persona. You can build a profile down to the individual person, and you can send them personalized messages that address the known issues that these customers have based on analyzing what we said before, your own calls with previous similar people. So you can use the same language, you can use the same tone, you can use the same words, you can use the same type of issues that they have and say, hey, I've been solving this and that problem for this. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds like me. Well, guess what? It's because I spoke to 30 other people like you, and the AI knows how to merge all of that into something that will sound like you. So doing these kind of things of finding people, getting information about them, and tailoring the message to them on a personalized level that is aligned with the goals of your business and the ICP that you're trying to serve was doable before. You just needed a lot of people. You needed good marketers, you needed good research people, you needed good salespeople. And now AI can do a lot of that at scale 24/7, 365. So by paying whatever, in this particular case, some of the tools that are using cost $400 a month. So for $400 a month, I have an army of salespeople, which is still a lot less than having a salesperson, a lot cheaper. And so it's these kind of things that when people see the first time, they're like, holy crap, this cannot be real. But yes, it is, and it works very well. So combine that with the stuff that we talked about before of data analysis and things like that. It's just the value to the business is incredible, and it's a lot more than generating cool social media posts, which I'm all for, and I do that all the time, and I'm having a blast doing it. But from a value perspective, it's not the same amount of value.
Yeah, I think the power of AI being that it can just do so much. Sometimes that makes it hard for the business owner to go, well, where do I start and what are the first couple of use cases? And I think we talked about uncovering your process, I think is a key part of this, because that will help to identify processes that can be re-engineered. Do you have a particular thought process or way that, when you're working with a company, that you try and help to uncover what are some of the first couple of processes to tackle or areas to introduce AI?
Sure. So we usually do a survey, and then I interview the top people and sometimes below that and try to identify different things. But the reality is the process is actually relatively simple. And what you need to do, if you think about what AI is good at, it's good at several different things. It's good at analyzing data. It's good at summarizing data. It's good at making predictions based on data. It's good at writing content. It's good at repetitive stuff. So if you need to do it again and again and again, it's good at doing things that require some human input versus a lot of human input. So as an example, if you need no human input at all, and people are like, oh my God, I can build AI in Zapier. I'm like, okay, Zapier is awesome. It existed for 10 years. So there's automation that you can build without AI in it that is still worth doing because it does not require any human input. If you want to redo your entire business strategy or you want to take one of your top potential clients to dinner, AI cannot do that. But if you need to do tasks that require some human input, like take all this information and try to understand what it is, like answering emails, like converting one type of data to a different type of data, then AI is really good at that. So if you take and create an Excel file that shared between everybody in the company, and you literally just ask them initially to put in the tasks that they're doing regularly. Just write it down, and then you get a list of 237 tasks that people do regularly in your company. Then in the next columns, you say, is it repetitive? Yes or no. Does it require human input? Yes or no. Does it require data analysis? Yes or no. Does it require data prediction? Yes or no. And you do this, and then you give a score to each and every one of these things, and it will give you a number in the end. And then the stuff that has the higher number are on the top of the list. But in many cases, you will get areas, like you'll get a whole section of like high points and then stuff that's in the middle and then stuff that's on the bottom. So now I have, okay, now it's not 237. Now I've got 42 tasks that are worth doing with AI. That's still a lot. Where do I start? How much is it worth to the business? And I always look at high value, low risk. So low risk is relatively easy. Don't have something write proposals on your behalf as your first AI task. It's not a good idea. Don't have it represent your brand in front of whatever audience as the first thing you do with AI. Not a good idea. But anything that is internal, anything that works with people on specific processes that they still evaluate and so on, is relatively low risk. So low risk. What's high value? In my book, there are three things that are high value. One, it drives up the top line, right? So it generates revenue. Awesome. That's high value. Two, it reduces cost. That supports the bottom line. That's also awesome. Three, makes my employees happier, right? If employees, there's something they hate doing, and now they don't have to do that anymore, they're happy. They're going to be more motivated. They're going to come smiling at work. They're going to leave smiling in the evening, and everybody's going to work better, and I'm going to have a better company. So if I can do any of these things, then 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 it's value to the company. And so you look at those 42 tasks and you just say, okay, is this task going to generate revenue? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. How much? Guesstimate it. It doesn't have to be accurate. Is it going to save us money? Yes. Okay. How much? Is it going to free people from doing tedious tasks that nobody likes doing? And then once you do that, your 42 now becomes very clearly ranked for the stuff that's going to bring the most amount of value to the company. And it is aligned with what AI is actually good at doing, which is not everything. There's stuff that AI is not good at.
What I love about when I chat with another systems-driven person, without even thinking, they default to delivering it in a process. And what you shared there was a process for how you look at the hundreds of potential use cases and then using a process, whittle it down to let the high value tasks surface, and then obviously tackling those first because they'll have the largest impact. Are there any, because you're right on the cutting edge with this stuff and you're eating this stuff for breakfast, are there any particular AI developments or new tools or capabilities that have particularly got you excited of late? Because it feels like every day a new tool or a new something is getting released. Is there anything, just currently where you're just like, oh, I saw that, and oh, that I think there's something there?
So there's two things I will probably want to say, but before that, I want to say something because we talked a little bit about process and mapping processes and so on, and I think this is another magical thing that we can dive down to a very tactical level and give your users a way to actually do something versus so tell them the how versus just the what is doable. And so how do you even map processes? How do you map a business process? And that's an art. There's consulting companies, not just consultants, who that's all they do is they help companies map business processes. Well, the reality today, it's actually really easy. So let's say you have three different people doing whatever task, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Have them record what they're doing. So if it's in front of a screen, record the screen. So use whatever screen recorder. You can use Zoom if you want to. We're on Zoom right now, but you can use whatever. There's multiple tools who know how to record the screen and the voice, and just have them narrate what they're doing. Just explain in English or whatever language you're speaking. I'm doing this, I'm clicking on that, I'm opening this, I'm doing this, I'm then going to this, I'm copying the data, I'm putting it there, I'm opening this file, I'm getting this from that email, and just have them narrate that. Have them do it 3 or 4 times because they're going to do it a little differently every time. And if there's 3 people, have each of the 3 people do it 3 or 4 times. Take all of those recordings, transcribe them. There's multiple tools who transcribes with AI right now, and take that information and upload it to your favorite large language model, preferably one with a large context window, but all of them will probably do if you're not doing crazy amount of recordings, and tell it, you're a systems process engineer. I'm going to provide you with recordings of people explaining this process. The goal of the process is this. We are a company type Y. These are the data sources that we have. This is what we're trying to do. And I want you to build a multi-level checklist that I can give to a monkey from the street to be able to follow the same process that these people are doing. Then I want you to ask me questions to clarify anything that you're not 100% clear about in the process that you've generated, so we can ask the people who are doing the process. So it's going to give you anything between 5 and 25 questions. Then you're going to go back to the people, say, okay, I have these questions about the process. Can you answer those with relation to the initial checklist? So like, oh, no, this is that. And they're going to give you feedback. You're going to give the feedback back to whatever tool you were using. And then you're going to have a very solid checklist. You can get the checklist, and I'll take you to Claude, which is the only tool that knows how to do what I'm going to say next. And Claude knows how to create flowcharts. So as somebody who likes processes, I like flowcharts, and because I'm a very, very visual person, and you can literally say, hey, listen, here's a multi-layer checklist. I want you to create a flowchart out of it. And it's going to create one that you're going to score probably as a 7. In the beginning, said, oh, yeah, but I want you to change this. I want you to add that, again, in simple English, and it's going to create an awesome flowchart for you. And then you have a detailed checklist, and you have a flow chart that actually describes the process, and you can see the relationships between all the different steps. And then you can take that and export that as a CSV file and upload it to your favorite task management tool, whether it's Asana, Jira, ClickUp, Notion, whatever your favorite poison is to manage processes in your company. You can literally have that as a checklist that is built into the tools themselves. And if you want to be really, really fancy, you can ask it to go back to the original recordings, tell you which one is the best one to use, ask it where to chop it off as good explainer videos to each and every one of the steps in the checklist, and then go back to the video, chop it off to those segments, and attach them to each and every one of the steps in Notion, ClickUp, Jira, whatever it is that you're using. So now you have a checklist that has a flowchart that has sample videos on exactly what to do in each and every one of the steps. And this entire process can be done in a day by a single person, which otherwise would have taken you $50,000 worth of consultants to get to something similar.
Which is exceptional if you took the time to go through your entire organization and did that. And I mean, capturing process really is just about identifying what works and making it repeatable. So we're just talking about all of the different processes that we want to make repeatable across the organization. And then every process brings a little bit of efficiency, they'll reduce a little bit of waste, and there's a compounding effect when all of these start to multiply with inside the business to get some extraordinary results. If we fast forwarded 5 years down the track and someone started this process for their own business, and then they became process first and AI driven, and I'm just wondering where you think that would take a business and the impact that it would have. Like, this is one of those things I'm trying to sing it from the rooftops, but I don't think a lot of business owners realize just by getting on this path how transformative it's going to be.
So I'm not making any bets on 5 years. I'm going up to 18 months at this point. This is kind of like my very furthest out that I'm willing to make any projections, because I think even that is like the future is going to be so weird compared to what we know today. But it is very obvious to me that we'll be able to automate complete processes in companies, even complex multi-level, multi-people processes within the next 18 months. And that's not going to be every company, and it's not going to be every process, but it will be doable. And the companies who will invest in that will be able to harness that for many different aspects of the business. And so if you're asking me where it's going to take companies, the biggest difference, if you think about it, between AI and or an AI driven organization versus a people driven organization, and they don't necessarily have to contradict. Like, you can still support your people and do everything with your people, but as far as who does most of the work, let's put it this way, the biggest difference is you cannot duplicate people. If you have the ultimate employee that does everything on time, at a high quality, with passion, and he never gets it wrong, and he's committed, and you're like, oh my God, if I had 5 more of him, I could win my market by a big spread, or if I had 50, or if I had 500. In the AI world, you can. Once you've figured out a process, doubling it times 5 times 100 times 10,000 is only a matter of paying for the compute. right? So if you're using the API, then you use 1,000 tokens. Now you're using 100,000 tokens. Okay, but it's generating revenue, then you don't care. Keep duplicating it as long as it works. While in people, you got to find talent. You got to find talent that actually fits your culture. You got to train them. You got to make them learn. You got to have other people work. Like there's a much, much, much more complicated process to grow a company with humans than to make a successful process replicated across multiple layers of it when you're running AI. And so this is where the magic amplifies itself dramatically. It's not just that ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, can do tasks that human can, but they can do as many of it as you want in the same exact level. And this is where things become really, really crazy, right? When you start thinking about, okay, what if I can replace the CEO who currently has to go home and spend time with his family and have dinner and sleep and go to vacation, and I can have an AI CEO that can see and look at every single detail of the company way beyond the human CEO can, and it can do it 365 days, 24/7. And it can be exposed to a much granular level of data. And it can predict the future based on a lot more analysis with whatever models you can imagine that a human can try to brainstorm and try to come up with ideas, but it's not at the same level. This is where we're going. Now, how long will it take us to get there? I don't know. In 10 years, we'll be there for sure. In 5 years, maybe. In 3, singular companies, maybe. But that's the direction.
Yeah. I love the insights that we've covered today. I know we're going to inspire a lot of people. If I'll pop a link across to Multiply so they can go ahead and find out more about your work. And I know you've got your podcast, you've got your website, you've got quite a lot of content on YouTube. Is there any particular place that we should send them, or multiply.ai? Is that the best place?
Yeah, so since people are listening to this as a podcast, the easiest thing is look for Leveraging AI podcast. So I've been running Leveraging AI podcast for 2+ years. So since April of 23, I've been podcasting for 5, but the AI podcast has been for the past just 2 years. We release 2 episodes a week. One is very highly tactical, how to do something with AI, and we go through multiple use cases with the best experts that I can find online. And so that's every Tuesday, and every Saturday we release an episode that is news. Here's what's happening in the AI world this week. And so if you want to stay up to date and learn how to use AI across multiple aspects of your business, is a good place. Another great place is to find me on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn, and so that's how we connected. And so if you now, my name is Isar Meitis, which you probably never heard before, and it's spelled Isar Meitis. The disadvantage is I have to spell it and pronounce it every time I talk to people. The good news is if you found Isar Meitis, you found me on LinkedIn, because there's no other one with my name on LinkedIn, which is awesome. And so LinkedIn is another great place. And the third is what you said, which is Multiply, the website, and Multiply is spelled with, instead of Y in the end, with AI in the end, which I thought is really cute when I got the URL. And now I have to explain that every time, which means it's not so great, but I still like it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time, and no doubt we'll be in touch.
I'll say one last thing. If you're listening to this podcast, go rate and review David's podcast. It's a lot of hard work that he's putting into this. I know, because I do the same thing. So give him a 5-star review wherever it is that you're listening, and share it with other people to enjoy what he's doing, so other people can enjoy from David's hard work.
Thank you.